Hey everyone, Jim here, Boots and Whiskey Podcast. Welcome to a Tuesday episode of the show. Usually these are done on Wednesday. I actually have an announcement about that. After the first of the year, we're going to Mondays. Mondays. I know I've switched around on you. I know in October we started Wednesdays and now we're doing a Tuesday. We're doing a Tuesday this week because it's Christmas. So Merry Christmas. I didn't think putting on an episode on Christmas Eve would be the best idea for views and listens and all that stuff, but maybe it will be. I don't fucking know. Um, but we have Chris Rafter here today. And I chose this episode to come out today for a number of reasons. I think I think a lot of what we talk about in this episode is super important. Um, and it's very poignant this time of year. We talk a lot about mental health and all that sort of stuff, especially men's mental health and all that. And like, this is a tough time of year for everybody, right? That's not poo-pooing anything or anyone. Um, but I think it's just a good thing for us to remember um, this time of year of all times of year, right? Like, I'm sure you won't have to look far to find somebody that is having a tough time through this season. Um, So, just be kind over the next few days. It's rough for everybody. We're 2026 is coming. Um, but we're gonna get into the year in review next week for next week's episode. But just be kind. Okay, you don't know if somebody's missing somebody this year at Christmas or can't see somebody or a loved one or whatever. So just be kind. Okay. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say. Um, I had a great time talking. This is an episode I could have gone on and on and on and on and on. And I'm surprised their PR team didn't ask me to edit any of this. Um, there's two things with that. One, that goes to show what a great PR team Chris has, I think, my personal opinion. Um, and two, it also allows Chris to be him. And I think that's also super important. So if you're a PR person, you're listening to these episodes, and you think to yourself, "Oh my God, I would never have let my artist say that." Rethink what the fuck you're doing. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. I know it sounds harsh. I know it's all this, that, and the other thing, but like seriously, let these artists be themselves. Let them be people, because that's what they are, and that's what this show is about. Letting the artist be the person. It's not about what you want the illusion to be and any of that bullshit. It's 2026 almost. The consumer can see through the bullshit, right? We can. We're not stupid. We know when an artist is not being who they are, right? Like, I mean this with no, we know the Maronis of the world and, parts of the Luke Bryans of the world are full of shit, right? We know that as a consumer. And if you are a consumer and you don't see some of these people and you think they're full of shit, you're not paying attention, I don't think. But this is I'm going off on a tangent, and only because it pisses me off. But this episode makes me have some hope that there's artists out there that still want to be themselves first and foremost, and Chris, I believe, does. So a big shout out to Chris, big shout out to his PR team for letting him be him. I say all that to say this. Merry Christmas. I know that's an awful fucking segue. Um, but thanks for being here. We hope you enjoy the show. Um, that's really it. That's really it, to be honest. Yeah. So sit back, relax, enjoy. Um, honest to God, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, if you're listening to this or watching this and you need somebody to talk to over the next few days, dude, shoot me a message on Instagram, on our Boots of Whiskey page. Shoot me a message on Facebook, whatever. Okay, just you're not a burden. You're not bothering me. Trust me, I'm here. Um, and that's it. So That's it. That's it. I know I've said that's it like 4 or 5 times now, and this intro is way longer than it should be, um, but it's important. And yeah, so here you are, Chris Rafter. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, I don't like going in knowing things, because I got ADHD real bad. So like you'll start talking and telling a story that I know already, and I'll just be like out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. And I kind of get tired of telling the same story. Not like I've been doing my, media circuit or anything, but I've done a few of these now. And what's the inspiration for the songs? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, you'll never hear me ask that question ever unless like I've already been prompted to, because honestly, I don't give a shit. I don't care. If the music's good, I don't care where it came from. You know what I mean? Because and I say that like with all like due respect, because it's,
of course,
you wrote it, sang it, whatever, chose it for one reason. And the way I consume music, I consume it for how it works for me. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
So
absolutely. In some ways, I think it can almost be like a detriment.
Yeah.
Knowing too much, like it's kind of like the separate the art from the artist thing.
Yeah.
Like, here's a little rabbit hole we can just jump down right off the rip. Is like the whole thing of musicians, you're almost forced, if you're coming up over the last few years, you're forced to have a social media presence.
Yeah.
There's really no other way around it. So beyond just promoting your music, like you're showing the people that are listening to your music a lot more about your personality than maybe people would have known about 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And along with that comes political stuff. I don't go into any political shit, but like I'll make a joke that I don't think is political, but somebody will find a way to make that political. And now there's a judgment about me as a person, which affects how they view my music.
Right. Which is ridiculous.
It's insane. It's insane. And like now I try to like, I'll go back and forth, man. I'll like put something up or I'll get absolutely roasted. My message requests or, this song, just the craziest people on the internet, just like looking for something to be mad at. And I'm like, all right, maybe I'll veer away from making jokes. And I'll be like, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. Actually, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm not getting bullied by people on the internet, man.
Right.
You're a man.
That's what it is, right? And it's like I say it all the time, where it's like, you brought it up, so I can bring it up now. Because I've never made this show political. There was one time I had one guest that I just let them go, but he was also knowledgeable, right? So I wasn't, I was like,
sure,
you do you, right? But it's. I find, I have a degree in political science, so I find it super interesting where, some of my favorite artists I agree with, some of my favorite artists I don't agree with, but at the end of the day, I don't care if I agree or disagree. When I go see you live, I don't want to fucking hear it.
Absolutely, dude. I'm super with you there. It's like the one place, the way I view it, because there's the two super, there are the people that say like, you have a platform, it's your responsibility to use it. The way I kind of look at it is like, we're entertainers,
right?
Dude. Like when I go to a concert, what I want to do is escape from that shit that I have to hear every other second of every fucking day.
Right.
Every time I'm on social media, I'm supposed to curse less. I'm going to try to do that. On
Not
social
here.
media.
You can swear as much as you want.
It's, it's when I go to a concert, it's like, I want to hear music and have a good time and have that feeling of like community where it's like, I don't care what your background is, what your political beliefs are. The people standing next to me, we're all here for the same reason because we like this music. That's what matters, So I don't know. I know for me personally that like my shows or with my whatever brand, I'm not bringing any sort of political agenda to the table because I just don't think that that's my space.
Right. It's we dabble in it every now and again. Like if something happens, like whatever. But like I feel like I'm on my side of it. I can get away with it a little more without it being a thing. But even then, like people will, the perfect example, because it's the most recent, is like when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, like I put something out there and like, you get a couple of comments like, oh, leave it to the music and blah, blah, blah. It's like, this is a major historical event, regardless of
side.
You know what I mean? It's like, I post everything, something about the 4th of July every year, or, you know, whatever anniversary it is. It's, to me, it's no different. But, you know, it's, you know, back to the music and seeing it live and all that. Like, there's also artists where, even like for what I do, like I don't want to say I try to stay away from, but like I won't necessarily be in a hurry to see live if I know I'm gonna get preached to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's like kind of funny, dude. I
Yeah.
think like in country music too, like it's almost become like a prerequisite. Like you see like a lot of these country dudes, especially, and I don't know if this has like always been, I've noticed it over the last few years, even if it's not like a political thing, like everybody's got to have something to like pontificate about. So
Yeah.
like whether it's like the underdog story or the like
Yeah.
everybody's got to have something to pontificate about. And it's just like, dude, if we just make like really good songs, like really good songs, put on like a really good show, you don't need all that bullshit.
Right.
Like you don't need, you know, rain coming down from the rafters, or maybe I shouldn't have said that because one person. You don't need like these theatrics, and the same thing goes for like pop music and stuff too. But
Yeah.
in country, there's a lot more of the pontificating. Like it's a lot more of the like, you know, there's got to be those big breaks to like talk to the audience and have like a big message, give, whether it's even a God thing. And like, look, dude, I'm a Christian dude, and I view it as my responsibility in my everyday life to maybe try to bring some Christian values and maybe attract some people to that. I don't think it's my responsibility to go on stage where people are paying to come see me do music and try to introduce them to Jesus Christ, you know, there. I just don't think that's what people are paying money for, and I think it's a little bit of a bait and switch, you know, to do something like that.
You know, it's funny you say that because, like, and this is totally off. Like, this is what this show is. We're just like totally off the fucking rails already, right?
This is great. I love it.
But I remember I was in high school and we had a family friend who was a firefighter who passed away not in the line of duty, right? And tragic accident, whole 9 yards. At his funeral, the pastor, preacher, whatever, I don't even know what denomination it was. It wasn't Catholic like we are up here in the Northeast, but it was something else, right? And like it was like trying to convert people to whatever their flavor was, right? And like I remember my father was pissed. He was like, we are not here for that shit. Like, just get to your point and let's go the fuck home.
Right. And it's one of those things, man, with like all of that stuff, this is something I learned in AA actually during my little stint in AA. I learned
we'll get to that.
Attraction. Yeah, go ahead.
We'll get into it, but you went to AA?
Oh yeah.
Oh, we'll get into that because I have I'm not like, you know, whatever, but like we'll get into it. Go ahead. Go tell your story.
We'll get into it. I had to preface it with that, or else people would be like, "How does he know this is from
Where does
AA?"
this come from?
But yeah, this is a great message. They talk about attraction rather than promotion, right? So it's like the way I kind of see stuff, and this is from being close enough to the industry to kind of know some of these stories that happen behind closed doors, but not close enough to see exactly how it all works, or to be at these like round tables where they're like, okay, this is the person you're going to be to the public, and then this is you be whatever the hell you want to be behind closed doors,
right?
But like I know a lot of it is a little bit of smoke and mirrors. We're building, it's character building. And this is across all genres and across all of entertainment. Really, it's like one of my good buddies said that like entertainers are just WWE characters. Like they just, you know, you find like their little thing and then they build off of that, and it's kind of got to be like condensed and distilled enough to be easily absorbable to the public. So like we know, like, you know, the Undertaker is like, you know, well, they're depending on his phase. I don't know if you're WWE guy, but it's like he's like the goth coffin graveyard dude, and then he's American badass, and he's like the motorcycle kind of dude. Shawn Michaels is the sexy boy, you know, he's just fucking flexing and like getting hose and shit. So it's, you know, entertainers are no different, and which I have a bit of a hard time with because it's like, you know, you're a Northeast dude too. I saw you're Boston, you know, outside of Philly, dude. So it's like, born and raised in these parts. It's like, I know, bro, like if I started creating some like little character that just like wasn't me, the amount of roasting
Oh yeah.
that I would deserve to get would be next level, which I love from being in this area, dude, is like, it's grounding. You know what I mean? Because I put up some like dumb shit on like,
Yeah.
TikTok or Instagram, and I put up a lot of dumb shit on TikTok and Instagram. I put on something that my people know isn't me, like
Yeah.
my boys from up here, they're roasting me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm getting cooked for it. So it's like,
Oh yeah.
an authentic me is going to happen by default, just because of, you know, this is how there's not really an option up here. Like, you're going to be who you're going to be, you know.
You know, it's funny because like it's the same thing on this side where like I've built like a sort of persona in a way, right? Because you have to, right? This, even doing this, I'm still playing some sort of a character, right? Like, I'm not a fucking redneck hillbilly that wears a cowboy hat everywhere I go, right? And I don't say those words to be offended to anybody, but like,
Sure.
that's not, you know, growing up, you know, there isn't a farm around here. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Right.
you know, so when I go out and I dress up and, you know, I got to dress up for something and I wear a cowboy hat, or I go to a show that is cowboy hat acceptable, right?
Sure.
Or go to the rodeo and it's like, I feel like the biggest fucking poser in the world, you know, but it's like,
Sure.
you know, I wear my cowboy boots everywhere I go, but that's also become almost the fashion, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's two sides of that. Like, it's become the fashion, and two, like, the reason I think there's been such a massive country music boom over the last few years is, the way I look at it is like, that is the music of the working class.
Yeah,
So pop music failed us a long time ago. Like, there was a time where Fleetwood Mac was pop music, the Rolling Stones were pop music, Bruce Springsteen was pop music. Yeah, so this was stuff, and I just mean popular, played on the radio. Where over time, it's like, most dudes aren't really relating to the stuff that's playing on pop radio. A lot of people aren't really relating to what's playing on rap radio, and at least, you know, I did up until a certain point in my life, and then I just kind of stopped relating to it, just based on the life decisions I stopped making and started making in other ways. And yeah, I think country music was kind of a voice for that.
Mm-hmm.
So even though a lot of it comes from the South and a lot of the culture comes from the South, that's like widespread. There's a lot of just, you know, guys and girls that are like, this is where I find myself relating the most. And yeah, man, it's kind of what I see, like, how I make music. It's like, I don't see myself as a country artist, to be honest. I think I definitely fell into that country niche, especially with like the last project I put out, and the music I put out so far. But it's like, I'm working on my next album now, and it's like, dude, my thing is, I grew up outside of Philadelphia in, you know, working class family, working class area. That's who I make music for. Like, that's what I want to do it for. You know what I mean? In my eyes, it's like, I don't think there's really been somebody who's like really nailed that, like, since Bruce Springsteen. You know what I mean? That I can think of. So I just kind of want to be a Northeast dude putting on for the Northeast exclusively. You know what I mean? And hopefully that spreads well beyond that. But, you know, I think getting back to what you were saying, that, I mean, the country music thing, it's a culture, dude. The hats, the boots, and look, it's badass. It's cool, man. That's why I dressed like I was freaking from North Philly when I was like, you know, 17, 18 years old. Not because I had any business dressing like that, but because it looked cool, dude. I wanted to look like a rapper.
Right.
It was sick.
Yeah, you know, and it's funny because, you know, going back to what you were saying, you know, even 10 years ago, right? Let's see, my son's 10. Maybe within the last 15 years, right? Especially up here in the Boston area. Like, if you would have told me 10, 11 years ago that I would be doing a country music podcast, I would have laughed my ass off at you, because I hated country music. Like, because it doesn't resonate. You know, it wasn't there in my life where it was like, oh, I get it. You know, it was always classic rock. It was the jam bands. It was everything other than country. You know, and even growing up, there was no country music in my parents' house at all. You know, we got a little bit of Garth Brooks every now and again, but Garth Brooks might as well have been a rock star in the 90s anyway, right?
Totally, dude.
So, you know, it wasn't until, you know, I started having kids, got into a a serious relationship, got married, that's when for me, that's when I got it.
Yeah, dude, I think what I thought country music was 10 years ago was you'd flip on country radio, and at the time I think it's a lot of like Florida Georgia Line,
Yeah.
Luke Bryan, like Blake Shelton, and I'm listening to stuff and I'm like, this is just like hillbilly rap music, dude.
Right.
Like
right.
this is like, and
Right.
that's no disrespect to that
No.
stuff. It was not anything that I could relate to, it just wasn't how we came up. What got me into it was I had a buddy show me, because I've always been a songwriter. So I've played around in different genres, but my songwriting style has stayed pretty consistent, pretty autobiographical, pretty honest. And it's just kind of been what production style is going to accompany that. And like 2017, 2018, my boy put me on the Jason Isbell. And I just heard the name and I already wasn't trying to hear it. So I'm thinking like Jason Aldean or whatever. Like I didn't really know these people's names, but they all just kind of sounded like one person. I'm like, dude, I don't like that stuff. I listened to Jason Isbell, man, and I'm listening to the Southeastern record a few years after it came out. And I'm like, this is the best songwriting I have ever heard. And then shortly after that, Tyler Childers has that YouTube thing. It's like the black and white YouTube thing. I forget, but he played like Nose of the Grindstone, White House Road, Follow You to Ver.
Yeah.
Man,
all the
this
songs
is country.
you won't play now.
Yeah, I know the songs you won't play now. Exactly. I think he'll do like Follow You to Verge. But I'm hearing this stuff and I'm like, this is the stuff I'm talking about. He's talking about the problem of pills. He's talking about, not living up to parents' expectations, and kind of being in this next weird generation, and all these, and he's like cursing. And I'm like, wow, he's talking the way I talk. So that kind of gave me a whole new perspective and kind of opened the door to this. Now they call it like alt country, which is kind of what they, classify my stuff as currently. But that like a whole new world. And I just kind of look at it as like phenomenal songwriters. And they just kind of, put a country tone on the production, but really you could produce that stuff anyway, man. Those are great songs.
Yeah. I was gonna comment about your style and your sound and all that, because it is very much in that realm, I think, right? It's how do I put this without dissing anybody? It's what I think a lot of people strive for or are striving for that comes out phony, but for you, it's not. Like you can tell, like that's just how you sing. That's just how you sound, right? There's no like trying to be Zach Bryan or Jason Isbell or whatever, right? There's no trying to be somebody you're not.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I mean, because and it's funny, like when I listen to my own stuff, which I never do.
Same.
I never do. The only time I hear my own stuff is in the rehearsal room and I'm hearing myself back through the speakers. But sometimes, like when we're mixing a record and I'll hear my vocals on, I'll be like, was I doing a little bit of twang by accident just because it felt necessary? You know, like I'll hear it a little bit in my voice and like, it is what it is, but I'll be like a little embarrassed by it. But overall, I think that's probably because I've been writing songs since I was 13. I'm 30 now. So, I put Havertown out, or Chaotic, I guess, was the first track I put out at 27, almost 28. So that was really 13, 14 years of figuring out really like who I am and what I sound like. Like I envy the dudes that are 18 and already got their own thing, like their own voice, their own cadence, their own style of writing. Because for me, it took a long time to just be comfortable with like, this is just how I sound. I listen to a shit ton of music across a ton of different genres. I have a bunch of different vocal influences, writing influences. At the end of the day, it's like I try not to just write the stuff that I think is going to be a hit because it's always going to sound contrived.
Right.
I try to just write the stuff that's the realest to me. Those are the songs that kind of fall out the easiest. And now the whole thing is like how to produce them. This last project, we produced it ourselves. I don't love the sound of it necessarily, but I'm constantly going to be my biggest critic. Like
Right.
I always think it could sound better. So it's kind of what the thing is this year is just making the track sound a little bit better and, but keeping that I guess authenticity. I hate that word now. It's so played out, but
Yeah.
keeping it real.
I find it funny that you said it out loud and admitted it, and I love it that you don't listen back to your own stuff, because I think, because like people rag on me all the time. They're like, "Oh, did you the episode came out? Did you listen to it?" I was like, "No," and they're like, "Well, why not?" I was like, "Because I was there. Like, I know what was said. I know what happened. I don't need to hear it again. Like, I just don't, right?" And I've only heard one artist say it out loud that they don't go back to listen to their own stuff, and that's a guy named Matt Nathanson. Have you ever heard of him?
No, I haven't.
He's kind of like I would say like 10, 15 years ago, he was more of like that Americana style, very singer-songwriter, but he's kind of turned poppy in the last few years because he got some major success and whatever, right? It happens.
Sure.
But he had said it live once, and he's like, I don't listen to, he goes, I know it sounds arrogant, but I don't listen to my own stuff. And it's like, at that point, I was younger, and I was like, well, why not? Like, it's great. Why wouldn't you listen to it? And then, like, as I've gotten older, it's like, oh, I get it. I get why you wouldn't.
Yeah, it's like you ever listen to like your own voicemail, like you're going to like change your voicemail and you listen.
I
to the
literally
one
want to hang myself every time I hear the sound of my own voice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That, and it used to be way worse. Now I can deal with it to like get through a mixing process of a song and to build the songs. But like once it's done, dude, I'm done here. I know what I sound like. I want to hear what people that are better than me sound like. I want to listen to this stuff. I really like that. I haven't heard 10,000 hours of between the writing and creating of it.
And isn't it funny because it's like we both kind of like talk for a living, more or less, right? And it's still,
I guess that is half my job now.
right.
And it's social media and everything else. Yeah.
I can't and I cringe when I know people like listen to it. I'm like, why? Like, and I love the sound of my own voice, right? Like talking, and I don't shut the fuck up. But it's like, no, thank you.
Yeah. I know because I've made the mistake of clicking on podcasts I've done like a year ago, even a couple months ago. You know when it is? It's like when I'll do like a podcast and then if it's on a delay, like a couple months later, it finally comes out and then the clips start coming out.
Yeah.
And I'm like listening to myself. I'm like, what was I on about? Because I just yap. When I do these things, I yap as if I'm like on the phone with a friend. Like, so I get comfortable pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, why was I going down that direction? I don't have like, I don't know. I guess you do it long enough and you kind of start getting that like PR trained like quality. So I know in like 5 years, I'm going to look back at all these podcasts and be like, why was I saying that?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. We're going on year 5 in 26. And, every now and again, I'll like listen to clips from like the first year or the first 100 episodes or whatever. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how are we this far into this? Like, how didn't somebody say to me 4 years ago, be like, dude, stop, just don't do this no more.
Right. And I'm blessed. I have some sick people on my team that have just along the way been like super gracious in helping. Bronte, you set this up. She was listening to the last one and, I ask, how could I be a little bit better? How do I just kind of, sound better in conversation in these settings, without changing who I am? She's like, you could probably say less F words. I'm like, oh, I don't even realize how much I curse, because just in my everyday life, I think I just curse like a sailor, and I don't think twice about it.
Yeah, no, dude.
But then you listen back to it and it's like, oh, it's abrasive when you're listening back to it. It is.
You know what? This audience, I think, would be upset if, because there's one thing I always said to myself, like I'd always wanted to do a podcast, like having the political science background, like I always wanted to talk about something, right? And this just worked out. And it was one of those things. I don't even know what the hell I was saying. What was I saying? I totally lost train of thought. Wow.
Well, you said we were talking about cursing, and then you set this up.
Right. Thank you. The ADHD kicked in real hard there. Holy shit. So yeah, and then I always said to myself, I'm never not going to be who I am with this. Like, I've had people come to me and be like, hey, let's partner up and do that. And I'm like, I am not going to not be me to fit into a box. You know, I'm not going to kiss anybody's ass. I'm just not. I'm not.
Totally.
You know, and I think that's why we've been so successful, because, you know, there's not a lot of us out there that do it that way.
Absolutely. And I think that there's such a, and again, to go back to that like word that I hate just because I think people use it incorrectly now. They almost like weaponize it, but like authenticity, right? And like the content space, it's like, oh, just be your authentic self, be your authentic self. And I'm like, if I'm my authentic self, I'm a human. So
Right.
it's not always going to be nice. There's
No.
days where I'm just a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
I'm just, maybe not to the general public,
Right.
but I just have just negativity. Everything's just bad. The world sucks. My music sucks. I don't like anybody. I'm
Right.
unhappy with my general place in life.
Yeah.
So there's certain levels. The way I kind of look at it now, the way I'm trying to look at it is like songwriting, where I keep that as real as I can be, but at the same time, like I'm a communicator. So I'm trying to get a message through in my songs. Like I'm not writing, songs that are really built for pop radio necessarily. You know what I mean? They're not like these cute little, dance at the club type songs that like you can just kind of hand off to anybody and it doesn't matter who sings it. They're pretty real to me because they're my experience. So with that, to make like the best song possible, it takes like a little bit of refining. Mm-hmm. So without changing anything about the core of that energy, it's refining it so that it's communicated better to the audience, right? And that's, I think, the biggest thing that, as a communicator like you and with the pod, me as a songwriter, it's like, however we can tap into our audience the best, whatever is going to be the realest thing that we can deliver while still, giving them entertainment, something to want to listen to. I think that's kind of the job. And that, the biggest part of that being not losing ourselves in doing so, not refining it down to a point where it's like, oh, I don't even know who I am anymore. I'm just trying to sound like Joe Rogan. I'm just trying to sound like, you know what I mean? Like some of the big guys, I'm just trying to sound like Zach Bryan or Morgan Wallen or something like that, So once you do that, it's like, what am I here for?
Right.
Why am I,
Exactly. And, it's, but there's also, especially in music and podcasts, whatever, there's so much shit out there. And I don't mean shit like bad stuff, but like there's so much stuff out there, right? Where like, I'm a big Joe Rogan guy. I'm a big Theo Von guy, like, because they have this same style where it is just a conversation. Like there's no gimmicks. There's no like, give me your, your Mount Rushmore of this or and like we used to have that. We used to have the gimmick of like, tell me what your boots and your whiskey of choice are. And it's like, after I asked that question so many times, like I was sick of hearing it. So I can only imagine somebody else being sick of hearing it.
Right. Right. Yeah. And that's that refining process, right? Like it's like for me, with like the singing, right? It's like the rasp. And a lot of that's just from not knowing how to sing, from not being trained, right? I'm just, if I can't really hit a note or I don't really know how to get there, it just slides into a raspy thing, right? From like 15 years of smoking cigarettes, that's probably just what lays on the other side of my voice. And now it's, taking some vocal coaching and trying to figure out like, okay, how can I sound better while doing this? How can I sing these lyrics I spent so much time on in a way that's maybe going to scratch the brains of more people in a positive way,
Now, let me ask you this, and this might come out rude, and please do not take it that way. I'm a northerner, we're class, just from the few little tidbits you've had, was there like a rough around the edges, Chris, prior to, what there is now?
Yeah, there still is. I mean, I'm just a little more well-spoken now. It's the only difference. It's always rough around the edges, man. Yeah.
So if you don't mind, do you mind talking about the AA stuff? Because I think it's one, I think it's helpful to people. If not, you can tell me to go fuck myself. That's fine. But two, it's something I have seen a lot, especially in this industry, of people not drinking anymore.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah. And to preface, I drink. I definitely drink.
Oh, okay.
That was
all right.
that was a period I was in with the AA. But yeah, I mean, when I was a younger guy, like 13 through 21, 22, yeah, I was pretty. I think I think like a lot of guys, especially that when I say guys and girls, that there's just kind of that hole there.
Yeah.
And like another AA thing, they call it God-sized hole. You know what I mean? And you're trying to fill it up with as I'm like saying this, I'm like, this is what's going to get clipped. This hole I'm just trying to fill up with anything. But
it sounds like the tag of an OnlyFans.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, that'll be the part that gets memed.
Your PR team can be like, you can't use any of that shit. You can't. You're not releasing the episode. If I get an email like that, it's the first episode that's going next. I'm just telling you right
now. Yeah, but for me, it was like I found alcohol and and pot, and then kind of into pills, and that was like my savior, man. I mean, that just made life easier. And to be honest, it still does a lot of times.
Yeah.
Like, you go into something, especially now, not like things are like popping off or anything, but like every month things pick up a little bit more and a little bit more,
Yeah.
Like I was in Nashville for the first time like a month ago, and my manager's based in Nashville, and I was down there taking some meetings and doing the showcase and stuff like that. I'm in some environments with people that are way above me in in this space, and it was intimidating. And like, easiest thing to do, man, is go to the bar, have a few beers, you get a few in, you're like, all right, you know what, I'm okay here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all right here. The difference is, I think, as a younger guy, I was a pretty aggressive dude.
Yeah.
And, that kind of took a different form, where now having those few beers is, it can be a casual thing. Not that I don't go out and still get hammered every now and then. It's still a fun time. But when I was younger, it was like, I would get in trouble. I just me and I was just, we were just bad kids, dude.
Yeah.
My friends are just bad kids. So, you get arrested a few times, some stuff happens, and AA kind of becomes, put in your face. And I was in the program for a couple of years, and taught me a lot. Obviously I didn't stay sober, but what it did do is it introduced me to a concept of God, which I didn't grow up with. And not like it just stuck from there on out, but it planted the seed. And it just kind of gave a general awareness of like, if you do good in the world, good things come to you. And beyond just even the selfish way, even if they don't come to you, you should just be doing good in the world without expecting things back. That's our responsibility as human beings. And it kind of planted that seed, which, I try to live by, and I don't do perfectly by any means. And like I said, still very rough around the edges, but talk about like outlaw country and stuff like that. And I make a joke. It's like all these dudes saying they're outlaw. It's like, brother, I can't go to Canada.
Right.
You know what I mean? Who's the real outlaw?
I haven't spoken publicly much about any of the year that I had, but I had a year this year personally, right? Like, where there are certain times or moments in the last year where I'm like, wow, how did you make it through, right? And I'll be the first to admit, like, there was a time there, I would say March, April, May, maybe even June, where it was like, out of the 7 nights a week, I was probably drunk at least 3 of them, at least.
Yeah.
And for me, it was just, it was safer for everybody else. And I say that like it sounds threatening, and it's not, but it was safer for me to swallow the demons than to act stupid elsewhere, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, like, not that I would ever harm anybody. I'm probably gonna have to edit the shit out of this now, but like, you know, it's none of that. Like, it was never a, you know, harm myself or anybody else. It was like, you know, this is how I'm gonna function through the day without mentally collapsing. You know,
Yeah.
and it sounds stupid because it sounds like an oxymoron, but like, it helped, you know, and it sucks that it helped, right? Don't get me wrong, but it's, you know, it was definitely better than the alternative, 100%.
Dude. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. And it's tough, man. It's like, I always kind of look at it like it's not necessarily like we have these tools here that aren't necessarily like positive tools, depending on how you look at them.
Yeah.
The drugs, the alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
like whether it's whatever it is for some people, eating, sex,
Right.
overwatching TV, video games,
Yeah.
like, and especially as time goes on, these things are just more and more and more prevalent, and like there's just more of them. So there could be people like, me and you sound like kind of old school guys. It's like, drink some brown, push it down. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
Yep.
But it's the same thing for the dudes that are like going and just going on like these streaming thing. I don't really know how streaming works, but it sounds like there are people that go on streaming and they just watch these streamers like live their lives,
Yeah.
and will just sit on there for 12 hours and just watch somebody else live their lives. It's like, I don't know how that's much different than just being in like a drunken hole sitting in your living room, just, throwing back a bottle of whiskey.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah, man, it's tough. I know for me, there's a series of things that I got to stay on top of, because if not, I'm a pretty hyperactive guy in terms of looking for a solution.
Oh yeah.
Right. So, and nothing is ever all right. Like,
Yeah.
I envy the people that just wake up happy,
Yeah.
go to bed happy, and are just grateful all the time, and whatever their situation. I do not have that.
No.
And, so,
You know, and this is going to sound back to being preachy, right? But this is going to sound preachy. But like, I think it's important for, you know, we talked about earlier, like what to say and what not to say on stage, right? Like, I think this is one of those things that I'm not saying you have to, right? But these are conversations that are important, especially for guys, you know, because we're taught, you know, we live in a society, we've built a society where guys don't have emotions, right? We're not allowed to talk about how much things suck sometimes, right? We have to
right.
put up the facade and these walls and all this stuff. And like, you know, it's not a pissing match on who has it harder, men or women, right? But like, dudes have it tougher than I think a lot of people realize that aren't dudes, or even dudes themselves might not realize, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and I've kind of battled with that in like the sociopolitics of it over the last like few years, especially as like podcasting has gotten bigger and you're able to hear people that are, like I listen to people that are way smarter than me talk about these. Like, I was listening to literally just an hour ago in the gym, I was listening to dude Scott Galloway on the Chris Williamson podcast, and talking about this exact thing, and kind of the tough things about being a young man in this time, and everything is weird. It's like, dudes are having sex less, they're moving out of their parents' house at a way lower rate, they're doing less, they're going out less, and even into like the kind of sober thing, right? Like, more and more people are putting away alcohol. And
Yeah.
he kind of had a funny take on it. He's like, I think, people should, I don't think this is beneficial for guys. And he's like, we're not drinking, and then they're not going out. He's like, talking about when he was growing up. So Scott Galloway, and I'll try not to misquote him, but essentially he's like, going out, having those few drinks gave me the confidence that started up a lot of the friendships, a lot of the relationships, male and female, that allowed my life to, flourish. Where without that, without meeting up at the bar, having, going out and having beers, having those few drinks that give you the liquid courage to go talk to that girl that could end up being your wife, It keeps a lot of people inside or just in their own worlds. And I'm not saying this to like promote drinking, but everything's like a double-edged sword.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, I only know the male experience as you do, because we're,
Right. Right.
that's what we are.
That
But
that'll probably get this whole podcast canceled, so it's fine.
yeah, exactly.
Just
Just
us
the
acknowledging
assumption,
that we're men. It's all right.
but yeah, man, and it is that's a real thing. And again, I think that's kind of a part of, I don't know about like everybody from the East Coast, and I'm just going to compare this just because I've lived in California as well, right? And I've lived in Florida. I know this area, and growing up, in the Northeast, there's definitely expectations to what you should do as a man, what you should talk about, and what you should not talk about, what you should shut the fuck up about and be a man about. You know what I mean? Put your head down, go to work. For me, the songwriting, I think, is always kind of, as cliche as it sounds, been that outlet. It's like you listen to some of these songs, like, it's funny because some of the least streamed songs are the ones where I'm just like pouring it out, dude. Like Life Goes On, 2017 on the album, or, kind of the least popular, but it's like, I was in some dark periods when I wrote that. That wasn't that long ago, man. That was like in the past year I wrote, or Life Goes On, I wrote in the past year. And that's a pretty dark song. And that's stuff that I would never say out loud, but for whatever reason, putting it to a melody and singing it kind of gets it out there without me feeling like I'm like losing my, my masculine card. And I don't know what that says about me. I'm not saying that's right, but
now let me ask you this, right? Yeah. And this is only something that I've had to deal with myself in the last year and some change, right? Where, and I don't know what your status is with all this, but like talking about that thing as guys and, whatever, like the dating world isn't any different, right? Like trying to be a single guy in our 30s, trying to date is horrifying. Girls talk about it all the time, right? But like, it's almost as scary for dudes, if not more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm lucky. I have a great girlfriend now, who, I get along with her really well, and she's extremely sweet and sweet enough to deal with me because I'm not always easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, before that, and especially like before the music, because it's funny, like these little things, like having like the Instagram following and stuff like that, it almost like made me like 4 inches taller.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of having that little check mark and stuff. Yep. It made it like now I'm, 6'4", and, or like a bodybuilder or something. It just kind of like gives an extra boost in that sense, where maybe it's been a little bit easier. But generally it's, it's not easy. And especially because I think for a lot of dudes, it's tough. I know it was tough for me to kind of know like where the line is. Not in terms of like, I'm going to say anything weird or do anything weird, but like you go up and approach somebody. That's generally how any interaction, regardless of what the intention is, starts. An interaction starts with an approach. It's happened to me. It's happened to you, probably. It's happened to most guys I know, where you've gone up, approached a female, and you get shut down. And that happens. And that's a part of life. And then you walk away and like, okay, that one didn't work. The weird thing about now, and especially with like TikTok, is I'll be scrolling TikTok and I'll see, girls talk about, oh, this guy came up to me and he was 5'6", or he was this or he was that. And it's like, did he do anything inappropriate, or you just didn't, like he was just ugly, so that offended you, or short, or didn't have money, or whatever offended you, so that gives you the right to like roast them online. And and again, I'm not, this is probably sounding fucking terrible because I'm by no means demonizing women. I think in anything time that we live in, where everything is online, right? It's like even all these interactions being like, everything being filmed, everybody having such quick access to, it's why like people don't like really dance as much when you go out. because nobody wants to be looking like a drunk asshole, just having fun, dancing, where 10 years ago, dude, like when I was in high school, you could be an idiot at a party and like dance, do some stupid shit, look like an idiot. And then you wake up and, your friends make fun of you and that's about it.
Yeah.
Now that gets a video of it on Snapchat, goes on a TikTok, and it's just immortalized forever.
Yeah.
I see people going viral looking stupid and I laugh because naturally it's I'm like, oh, that poor dude, man. That sucks. That happens to me, dude. I look at myself, I'll be performing and I'll maybe try something new when I'm performing. I'm really feeling the music. I'm trying something cool. I don't know. I'm just in the midst of it. And I watch back the video. I'm like, oh, that looks terrible. I did not look as cool as I thought I did.
Yeah.
Not even close. So it's just like a weird time for all this stuff and for men and women. And I'm kind of doing that claim just as the blanket statement, because we're only speaking as what we can,
right.
Our own experience. Right. But yeah, man.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to put you in an awkward situation, but it's like, it's regardless of anything, it's just not talked about enough. Right. Like, and I have been in some hot water in a lot of fucking situations in the last year and change, 2 year and a half, right? 2 years almost. And it's like, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't really give a shit, but you give a shit. Like if somebody says something negative or whatever, and it's like you're hearing, one side of the story, and maybe your side matters, maybe it doesn't matter, but like the fact that you're not getting the whole story, that pisses me off more than anything. It really does. And it's like I've got to the point in my life where it's like I will totally straight up tell you I fucked up. Like, what? Why not?
Totally.
Why not? Right? If something doesn't go well or right, or I have a conversation where it's like, man, maybe I shouldn't have said that, but like at the same time, it's like I don't think about what I do, which is probably a huge problem. But at the same time, like I'm not sorry that I said or did something, because there had to have been a reason why those things were said or done.
Sure.
Yeah.
Even if it was right in that moment. Like I say stupid shit all of the time. And when we have social media, it's very easy to like paint people into these 2-dimensional boxes.
Right.
As if we're not complex humans.
Right.
It's like, if somebody sees you on social media, and they see, a clip or something that you post or something, whatever it is, it's easy to just take that 15-second excerpt of your life or your thinking at that very small moment in time, even if it's misspoken or even if that's not even an idea you carry anymore because you've grown from that in the past 24 hours or a week or a month.
Right.
And it's easy to just paint like, oh, I know everything about this person. This is a bad person because of this. And it's like, dude, I've done dumb shit. Like I posted one that I just didn't understand what was happening with like these protests happening like 7-8 months ago, whatever it was, because I don't really pay attention to, what's going on. So I made some posts about the protests because I just took a video of my town, all these people with these signs, and on the other side of the street, there's counter protesters to those protesters. And like, without making any kind of a political stance on it, I was just kind of like, this is kind of hilarious. Like it's insane. You have people yelling at each other from this side. I'm like, what productive is coming from this? And I got torn up.
Well, I'm sure.
I got torn up for that. And I was slightly shocked at first. I'm like, I didn't even take a stance. It wasn't like I was saying like, I wasn't pro either side. I was like, I just think this is hilarious. Like, it's insane. But I got decimated. And then it was just kind of another reminder of like, yeah, that's what, that's the times that we're in. It's like that one post to those people defined everything that I am as a human being.
Yeah.
That might have meant that I don't like people, that I don't care about people, that I'm this, that I'm that, and that, and that's all they need to see. And I've done that too. I've seen things about artists that I didn't like, and then I've said I hate that person. And then I think about that now, and I'm like, how do I hate that person?
Right.
I saw a clip of them doing something I didn't like, and I'm going to say I hate that. I don't know how they are with their parents, what they have going on in their life, what good things that they're doing on a daily basis that aren't present. How stupid and hypocritical for me to say, oh, I don't like that person or I hate that person because of one dumb thing I saw on social media.
Right. You know,
Thanks.
it's funny because, in the talking about your hot water moments, right? Like I've had a few doing this, and my biggest one came, I want to say, in the first year and a half of me doing this. So it was, I was still wet behind the ears and all this stuff. And I did an interview with an artist out of the Baltimore area. And she had been on The Voice and or whatever, one of those shows, whatever. And she was openly gay, the whole 9 yards. Like, it was whatever to me, right? She got into a lot of like personal stuff. It was like probably one of the best conversations, even to date, that I've ever had with somebody because of how raw and authentic it was, right? Now,
Yeah.
we recorded that episode, I don't know, a couple of weeks before it came out. It was right around the time where Morgan Wallen was getting all his shit for saying the N-word and all this stuff. And, me being new at this and shit, like, and I put out something like Free Morgan Wallen, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. I'll do it.
it's gonna get clicks, it's gonna get eyeballs, it's gonna get reactions. Like I may be stupid, but so nothing was said from this person. Like, I released the episode, and I get this like fucking Bible long paragraph about how much I'm a racist, I'm this, I'm that, I'm all these things, and I'm reading it and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, and then she gets to why. And I was like, you got that out of a Free Morgan Wallen post? Like, wow, holy shit. And it's like, you are just grasping at shit at this point. Right?
Right.
And it's like, so like, that was the one and only time I have taken down an episode and pretended like it never happened. And only because, and I say that to say, only because of how new at this I was, right? If that happened now, two things. One, the episode's going. I don't give a shit. And two, like, I have learned either the hard way or the easy way that I cannot apologize for being me. Not that just made me sound like I'm a racist. That's not what I'm saying.
No,
at all. But like, the content I put out is me, like, I'm not going to put anything out there that I wouldn't say to my buddies at the bar. And people give me shit about that all the time because they're like, you have a brand. I'm like, yes, this is the brand. Fucking around and finding out is the brand. Like, what do you want?
Right. And that's, again, going back to that like authenticity thing, right? Why it's such a fine line, because then at the same time, you see a lot of people building massive careers strictly off of controversy.
Right.
So they lean into that for, whether it's on purpose or whether that's just a effect of, them being them. It starts working and it's like, all right, double down. They've been able to build diehard fan bases and, for doing exactly that. And the internet's this like toxic, like fucked up place in the sense that you now, especially with like social media, you almost kind of need to have some bit of that to get people commenting, to get people sharing. It's very rare, and I'm not going to say it doesn't happen. It's just rare with the saturation of, musicians, of podcasts, of all these things that people are going to be interested in what you have to say without something that's like controversial, clickbaity. You know what I mean? Even if it's not on purpose, but that's the stuff people want to see. So it's like, I'll mess around with shit, even just like little captions or like text on screen, just to see like, how can I poke? How can I provoke a little bit and just be funny in,
Yep.
my way? And see, because that's the shit that ends up picking up, the most steam.
Yep.
When you have that discourse in the comments, and like, again, I think it gets used to a level that makes social media a super toxic place, because some people are like, I don't give a shit if 50% of people hate my guts and want me dead, because the other 50% love me and
Right.
would die for me, and I'm cool with that balance. Where
Yeah.
for me, it's like, dude, I just want to write fucking songs and
Right.
play them. That's all I really want to do. I have to express myself as an artist in 2025. I have to post on social media. I don't know how to do that without being me.
Right.
I don't know how to do that. And honestly, I don't think I'm willing to do that if I'm forced to post on social media fucking 5 times a week. Like, yeah, I'm going to come through unless somebody is like doing it for me, which I don't think I'd really want either. Yeah, I'm not a brand that's been created and, I guess turned into something where it's, where there's not going to be anything that doesn't piss people off or lead anything for people to misunderstand. Or I don't really have that skill, nor do I really care to learn it.
Right. Now let me ask you this, right? Now that it's, let's say like you write a song, right? It's the best song you've ever written. You love it,
Yeah.
the whole 9 yards. It gets all this attention, for, because we're talking about it, negative reasons, right? For you, it's a song that is near and dear, but for somebody else or for a group of, a percentage of people, it pisses off, right? What do you do in that situation? Do you take the song down? Do you just say, hey, like, this is my art. If you don't like it, you don't have to listen.
Yeah, no, I absolutely would not take it down.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Like, if I wanted to live that life, I'd have a corporate job. That's always my answer to anything that has to do with that. Look, man, I'm a man. I can accept where I've been wrong.
Yep.
I can accept when I say something that maybe I didn't understand the implications of what I was saying, and that, it's deeper than what I thought it was, and I've hurt feelings, whatever. I've never gone on and done a fucking public apology, because that doesn't do any good either.
Nope.
All you can do is kind of learn from stuff and move on. If it's a song, and that hasn't happened, and maybe it will at some point, I don't know. And it's something that I care about, that's, meaningful to me, and people take it the wrong way. It's like, fucking listen to somebody else. If I think it's good, which I'm extremely critical of most of the shit I put out. So if I think it's that good, other people are going to think it's that good.
Right.
And that's kind of a part of, you need to be unapologetic to an extent. I think that there's a nuance there that a lot of people miss of growing. I would say I'm not married to any opinions. I try not to say anything definitively, like, oh, I will never do this, or I never say that, or, any like super hard beliefs or anything like that, because as life happens, you change. That's how life should be. But yeah, if I wanted to get bullied by fucking faceless people on the internet, you know what I mean? I'd go get a corporate job and get bullied by my boss instead.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
and at least
that's
have
very,
a solid paycheck.
That's very true. Yeah. I work in a corporate world, and you're absolutely right. So now I guess we should talk a little bit about, your actual music and, and all that,
Yeah.
seeing you are here. So, now that 25 is pretty much over, we're starting 26. This is probably I don't know when this is going to come out. I'm not going to lie to you. Probably sooner than you think. But like, what does 26 look like? When it comes to music, going out on the road, whatever. As of we're sitting here right now, the first week of December of 25, what is 26 looking like for you?
Yeah, so I mean, I can plan as much as I want, so it's hard to tell how the cards end up falling at this extremely early stage of my career, right? I know the big things for me are, putting out better and better music. Like, that's the number one thing, and it's easy to lose track of because of all the other stuff, like the promotion, the social media stuff. Like the amount of time I spend on social media, it's embarrassing to say. The amount of time I spend planning, creating, and thinking about social media is probably equal to the amount of time, possibly more than the amount of time I'm actually writing and creating music now, which sucks in a lot of ways. But something moving into 26 is figuring out just a more efficient system. Because if I'm not writing every day, if I'm not creating every day, it's like, what am I doing?
Right.
I'm not an influencer. That's not why I started doing this,
right.
to be an influencer. You know what I mean? So it's finding an efficient way to make that, it's a part of the job, but not an everyday thing, whether that's filming a bunch of shit in the beginning of the month and then having enough to do the rest of the month. So that way I can focus on music. And I don't think I'm going to put, again, it's hard to say. My plan right now is just release singles. So it's working with different producers. As of now, I've written everything that I've ever put out. I've written by myself. I don't, co-write. I've never been in like these writing rooms or anything like that. I know it's nothing against that. It's just the way I've always written has been just me. But just trying to keep getting better at my craft, put out better shit. And I think at the end of the day, like the music is always going to lead, right? Yeah. And then it kind of gives you that flexibility too, where like if the music's good enough and you can at least try your best to get it out there and be consistent in getting it out there. I'm not the best content creator. Some people, it's just like, they're just, for some reason, they just have like the eye for it. What looks good on TikTok, what looks good on Instagram, what's going to make it kind of take off. I don't necessarily have that. So to play to my strengths, I know I can make good music and I know I can keep making it better. Right. Yeah. So it's like, if I can make some really, really, really great songs this year, keep growing out my fan base, and especially like outside of the Philadelphia area where a majority of it is, I want to, I want to start getting around the country a little bit more. I played a lot of shows locally in Philly and around the East Coast last year, down to South Carolina and Virginia, North Carolina, New York, but all like pretty much East Coast. And it's now just new connections, new friends, new management, and wanting to build that out. So yeah, I mean, I guess to distill that into a couple things, it's just to get better and at what I'm here to do, and put as much focus into that as possible, and that's being a great songwriter and a great performer.
Well, I'm glad we get to chat and hear, get to know each other and let the people get to know you as a person, because like that's like when you're coming up, I think the biggest thing is for people to know who you are as a person so that the music makes more sense. Right.
Totally, man. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on too, man. I really appreciate opportunities.
And anytime like you got stuff going on, or if you ever make your way up this way and on your way up, like just reach out, man. We'll do whatever we can.
Dude, absolutely will, man. Yeah, we're connected on Instagram now.
Yeah,
I'll definitely be in touch. I will be getting up to Massachusetts this year, Boston. So I'll hit you up, man.
Yeah,
we'll get you
there. It could be dangerous, but we'll have a good time.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it might turn into a couple-day bender, but now we'll have fun.
Definitely. Well, Chris, man, thanks so much, brother. And honestly, like this sounds kind of shitty, but like I like what you're doing. Your music's great. Like, don't change who you are, man. Like, it's your sound is perfect. It's really, really good.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. Dude.
And like I can't honestly wait to see what else you put out, because it's what you've put out already is the kind of style that I really enjoy. So yeah, man, it's You know, obviously do whatever you want. I don't know shit, but like, you know, it's enjoyable what you're doing.
Dude, yeah. Thank you so much for saying that, man. Yeah, you know, I never quite see it. So
Yeah,
when
yeah,
other people
I get it.
tell me it, man, I believe you. So
I get
thank you,
it.
bro.
You know, like it's funny, isn't it? Like I feel like we're the same in that where it's like, you know, people tell us, "Oh, you do a really good job with whatever you're doing," and you're like, "Oh, I'm not like at all. Like this sucks." Like I you know, but it
It's
works, right? People are
it's
listening.
always just absolutely, yeah, man. And it's always just striving to be better. Like I
Right.
don't even want to sound like I'm trying to be like overly humble or anything like that. 'Cause it's not that. It's like I know where my strengths are, and for me, I think that's always. I always just kind of have that thing of like, okay, cool, that was good. On to the next thing. How do we make it better? How do we
Yeah.
make it better? You know, which maybe one day I'll get to a point where I can just sit back and appreciate exactly what you know what it looks like right now. But you know, always just trying to improve, man.
Yeah, man.
But thank you a lot. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, man. And like I said, anytime things come out, just you know how this works. Everything is so loud and so quick. Like I'm sure I'll miss everything, but just shoot an email, shoot a text. I'm here, man.
Hell yeah. Awesome, brother. Absolutely will.
All right, buddy. Well, have a good night. Thanks for shooting the shit with me for the last hour and change, and we'll see you soon.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me on, dude. Have a
Anytime.
great night. All right.
You too.
All right. Take care, brother.
See ya.
Well, there you have it, our conversation with Chris Rafter. Chris, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for coming on and being you. That's, like I said, as I rambled on for 5 minutes at the beginning of this show, it's so important to be you. And I think we can all learn something from that, where it's important for all of us to be just genuine in who we are. We don't need to put on a face for somebody else or for other people and all that bullshit. Like we're done with that. I would hope. I would think. Um and you know what? If you listen, you know, I look back on this episode and it's like Chris and I talked about it. Like you got to own your shit. Right? We all have shit. Own it. Trust me, I went through a year this year. For those of you that are in my personal life that watch this, know that. Um, but I own my shit. I own my part of my shit. That's also very important too. You know, you're, you know, I'm treading lightly on purpose here because there's things I just want and need that if I say too much or whatever, I'm like everything else that I've ever said or done is gonna be misconstrued. Um, but I'll just say this: just be you, own your shit, and if other people are gonna hold your shit against you after you've owned it, fuck them. Honest to God, fuck them. You don't need them. You don't need them. Anyway, Merry Christmas. I know that's like the happiest episode you ever had. But enjoy your time with your family, your friends. Just enjoy yourselves over the next few days. 2026 is right around the corner. Not to be cliche, but you know, if you're going through it, dude, it's time to change it. Let's change it up. And if you're struggling, and anytime anybody's struggling with anything, reach out. Um, that's it. That's it. I know. I know. I said so much, but I don't give a fuck. I don't care. You gotta talk. Gotta talk it out. You know, we're told keep it all in. Fuck that. Don't keep it in. Keeping it in will get you in a fucking body bag before you should be. Um, so Merry Christmas, everyone. Thank you so much for being here all year. We've been rattling off our top tens for the last week or two. We did albums, we did bands and duos. We're gonna do male and female artists to watch for, and we're gonna release probably New Year's Eve, maybe even before. I don't know the top 10 episodes of the year. Okay, obviously, and this is nothing against Chris or next week's guest. They're probably not gonna be on the list because unless you get beyond beyond hundreds of listens in the next week, which I would love that happen. Probably not gonna make, but that's fine. It's fine. We're fine. We're all fine. We're here. Watch, I'm gonna say that, and this fucking episode's gonna blow up. But anyway, cheers, guys. Thanks for being here. Till next week. Be good to each other. Merry Christmas.